Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Georgia Sports Nation. We got some more Hawks content coming for you guys tonight. We're going to be recapping the 107-116 loss against the Pelicans earlier this week, as well as going over the 116-107 win over the Suns last night. As a bonus, we're also going to be discussing the trade deadline acquisitions. It was a huge day in the NBA yesterday. Ton of players got moves. The Hawks made three new additions, got rid of two guys, and so we're going to be discussing their roles, what we gave up, what we think of the trades overall in the league, as well as just quickly going over the fact that Trae Young was not named an All-Star replacement, and I'll provide a little bit of some detail on why that might be the case and how it might not just be due to Trae's ability for this season. But with that being said, OG Big Sam, what did you think of these two games this week, starting with the Pelicans?
It's our helter skelter defensive output. I'm gonna be on this defensive thing with these guys until it comes to fruition. We need 48 minutes of straight up defense. You know what I'm saying? And what we saw from John Collins last night, we should be getting all year. All year.
Yeah.
The moves that were made were good moves because they got some bona fide role guys, you know what I'm saying, that can give us big body minutes and big body play, physical play. These are Nate McMillan type of guys, so to speak. As far as the Pelicans game goes, we got to hit shots and play good defense. That's just in a nutshell.
Yeah, and we got behind the eight ball early in this game against the Pelicans. They started off an 11-2 run. The only 2 points were free throws from John Collins. Our first field goal didn't come with just over 8 minutes left, and that was a mid-range it was actually a three-pointer from DeJounte Murray. We followed that up with an 8-0 run, though, to a little bit right in the ship at least. But it was definitely a rough start for the Hawks. We hit 11 of our next 13 field goal attempts after starting 0-6. So we see this inconsistency with the Hawks a lot this season, where we'll either have a really hot start and then towards the end we might let these teams come back and even win the game, or it'll be really stressful down the stretch when it doesn't need to be. Or we see starts like last night when we go into the Suns game a little bit earlier. We had such a great start that game and really kept it going through the majority of the game. So we don't know on a night in, night out basis which Hawks we're going to get towards the beginning of the game and end of the game, the most crucial times in an NBA contest. So it's really confusing at times what you're going to get from the Hawks team, and that's why I really think a huge thing. And you were pointing this you pointed this out, Sam, before we went live, about John Collins establishing himself early in the offense. What do you want to see from JC more, for example, from last night?
His defense. He was active. You know what I'm saying? He was aggressive. He wasn't getting pushed around. You know what I'm saying? He was getting hands on stuff. He was a presence along with Capella. When you have the both of them playing aggressive defense such as that, we're a hard team to beat. And I don't understand how that's not noticeable. That formula right there. When those two guys are engaged defensively, everything else rolls like an avalanche.
Yeah,
good defense turns into our offense. We're getting good shots. We're getting open shots. We're getting rhythm shots. Everything's flowing.
Yeah, and in this Pelican games, really, our offense was rescued late in the first quarter after that bad start from Bogdan Bogdanovic. He'd been shooting the ball pretty inconsistently these past few games. He shot it inconsistently last night against Phoenix, but in this Pelicans game, he started with back-to-back threes in that first quarter, and we ended up scoring after that bad start. We ended up grabbing a 35-32 lead at the end of that first quarter against the Pelicans. So that kind of just shows, like, for one moment, the Hawks won't hit a field goal for 4.5 minutes to begin the game, and next you end up scoring 35 points in that quarter. So really, what did you see that made that change, and how the Hawks were able to be successful at the end of that quarter? Unfortunately, they couldn't continue that offensive in the second half.
It was like, they got calm and relaxed and not in panic mode, taking junk shots. You know what I'm saying? They were taking good shots, high percentage shots, hitting the open shots, rhythm shots. It was like they got comfortable. Like, all right, this is what we got to do. Let's do it, and press on without pressing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, a lot of times when you fall behind, and you it's like you're chasing that rabbit, and then you use a lot of gas, you know what I'm saying, and chasing, and then you don't have any energy left to do anything else. But it was like they had, all right, we straight, let's just do what we got to do on defense, and let's take the right shot.
Yeah.
Not just any shot.
And really, that first part of the first quarter, the opening part of the game, was the only part of the first half where the Hawks offense struggled. The Hawks had 11 assists in the first quarter with 0 turnovers. Trey had 7 of those. And honestly, again, he looked like he was going for a career high in assists. He finished with 16 assists in this game. His career high is 18. And he easily could have gotten to that to a career high mark in assists the way he was passing the ball. One particular dime to Bogey on the 3-point line was just amazing. He basically pulled a skip pass behind the back to Bogey for a wide open 3 in that first quarter. That was one of the better passes I've ever seen Trey make, which was awesome to see. And with the second quarter, this game was back and forth. Neither team had a lead of over 4 points in the second quarter. We started with a bucket in the second quarter to get our 4-point lead, and then later in the quarter, the Pelicans got a 4-point lead. But this game was in the balance throughout this entire first half. Trey continued with his 11 assists to 1 turnover ratio, so he was doing really well. And the Hawks as a whole, 16 assists on 22 made field goals. Whenever you have that ratio, that's a good mark, and it showed because we scored 35 points in that opening quarter. But unfortunately, after that, we never really found an offensive rhythm in the second half. 22 points in that third quarter really cost us. What did you see that really changed the dynamic of the game offensively, or what did you see defensively from the Pelicans that made it tough for us to score in that third quarter?
Well, they weren't able to get us totally out of our rhythm, and which would turn into a problem for them. And when you let Trey start to, get off into in his bag with his passes as well as his shots, then, it's kind of hard to beat us that way. And, with that being said, I think our defense kind of ramped up a little bit, and we kept in a good rhythm. And we wouldn't let them really get into theirs.
One thing about the second half, as bad as it was offensively, and it really did cost us the game because the turnovers were really bad in that second half. We had 11 turnovers for the game, which is a pretty good number. That'll win you a lot of ball games. But that all came pretty much in the second half, and that's why our offense slowed down, especially in that third quarter. We had 3 fouls in less than a minute into that third quarter. That put our defense on our back heels. We can't be as aggressive because we don't want the Pelicans to get into the bonus really quickly. They were able to drive into the paint and get easy layups, and that started really a 9-0 run, and that's where the Pelicans started to really jump ahead of the Hawks and take away the game as they finished the quarter as the Hawks finished the quarter with four turnovers in their last 6 possessions, and the Pelicans took an 81-91 lead into the fourth quarter.
And what do we have? We had like what less than 12 turnovers for the game.
Yeah, we had 11 turnovers for the game, but most of them all came within that third quarter and fourth quarter.
Right. Well, I mean, when that's something else too. When whenever we don't have more than 15 turnovers, we tend to win the game. We need to stick to that, keeping the turnovers down, because a lot of times our turnovers come in bunches. And then a lot of times that's come from taking crazy shots, low percentage shots, and, Trey's out there shooting from the logo and missing, or we taking 3 after 3 and after 3 after 3 instead of, getting into the paint, but when we're in our bag with the pick and roll, and getting to the open man, combined with good stringent defense, we're a hard team to beat, man. It's just simple as that.
And Trey with those logo threes, I mean, you saw last night he hit a 37-foot three to put a dagger in the Suns to really ice the game there. But when he doesn't make those shots, it looks really bad. It really does.
Yeah, it does. It does.
There are certain times in the game where those shots should be taken, and as well as on the flip side, certain times when they shouldn't be.
I mean, he has the capability, in the range, but it just sometimes his timing with some of those shots are just not right.
Yeah, completely agree with you on that one.
I mean, if he's in rhythm, he's hot. You really can't argue with it. But then, when the offense is stagnant, those be, some of those shots he take like that. Sometimes when the offense is not clicking, it just worsens the matter. Because we're not getting those long rebounds. The opposing team is getting out running on us off those long rebounds. It really compounds matters.
Yeah, I agree with you there, because when you got Trey Young working in the pick and roll and being patient, he's one of the top 3 guys in the league operating in the pick and roll. Top 2 if you can account LeBron, CP3, and Trey in that list. I don't know what order, but those are my opinion, top 3 guys working the pick and roll in today's NBA, and that's going to generate the best, most efficient shot for a Hawks offense. So if you have that open shot, you could take maybe 1 or 2 a game, but we don't want it to take to the 3 or 4 or 5 level where you're taking 30-foot plus threes.
Right.
Sometimes that can cause a havoc, and it did it against the Suns. He hit the shot, and the shot clock was winding down. That was an all right shot to take at that point. But sometimes he does fall in love with that shot a bit too much. As we get into the fourth quarter here,
he does.
Bogey really single-handedly brought us back into this, or had a chance to bring us back into this game. He had an individual 7-0 run, and when he was scoring, nobody else was for the Hawks. In fact, with 7 minutes and 14 seconds left in the fourth quarter,
right,
the first bucket scored by anyone not named Bogey happened with Onyeka Okongwu getting an and 1 second chance bucket, and that's really where you see how much our offense struggled in the second half. It was 10 turnovers in that second half compared to 1 in the first half. That's really the big number right there that you're going to look at and say that's the key right there. That's how we really put ourselves behind the 8 ball.
And Bogey's another one. When he's off, he's off. I'm talking about when he's off, man, he can't throw Stone Mountain in the ocean.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And I'm like, and I'd be like, man, go for a layup. If you're not hitting a J, go for a layup. Try to get to the free throw line. Don't continue to take jump shots. Contested jump shots at that.
With Bogey, he was great in this game, but again, last night you saw some shooting struggles with him. I'm pretty sure he shot 2 for 12 last night, which definitely for a sharpshooter like Bogdanovic, you don't expect that. He's been shooting the ball really inconsistently lately, and you need that shooting on this team because, and we'll address this a bit later, the Hawks did improve by getting some spacing and some volume shooting at the deadline, but Bogdanovic is really that guy that's going to give you a good amount of minutes off the bench for some volume three-point shooting. And as your best three-point shooter, well, besides AJ Griffin this year, but he's playing less minutes than Bogey. You need him to start hitting those shots so that other people around him can get into the offense too. Because once if he establishes his rhythm, teams can't just focus on the other guys. They need to worry about Bogey a lot, opening all other offensive options for guys like DeJounte Murray, Trae Young, even because they can't his gravity off the ball. If he moves off the ball well enough, you've got to defend him as well. So Bogey's really a key guy that you need if you're a Hawks fan to get going for the success of this team.
Yep, that is true. I mean, him and DeJounte and Hunter, whenever he's available and healthy, if they're all cohesively, in rhythm with their shots, it's pretty much a done deal. You're not going to beat us.
Yeah, and I like this point by Southside here too. I completely thought the same thing. I mean, he had a great game in New Orleans, like we've been mentioning, and he hit his first 2 threes last night. I was like, okay, this is a Bogey game. Here we go. And then he missed his next 10 shots and just finished 2 for 12. So definitely a bit underwhelming game from Bogey last night. Hopefully it's just a one-game thing because we have seen him go on like a week and a half slump recently where he just couldn't put the ball in the basket. It was weird, like missing open shots. So hopefully this doesn't last too long and he has a better game out against the Spurs tomorrow night. Any final thoughts on this Pelicans game before we move to the Suns game last night?
Yeah, it's just one of those helter-skelter games, Hey, you hope for the win, but most time we come out on the back end of it.
Yeah, the second half offense really killed us. What did us in, and that slow start didn't really help either. With us not scoring field goal in the first 4.5 minutes of the game.
Right.
As we move on to the Suns game last night.
Yeah.
116-107. It looks like a good win in the box score, right? But really, if this Suns team wasn't as depleted as they were with the whole Kevin Durant trade, Devin Booker out resting, recovering from that injury, this game the Hawks did not really play well enough to win this game. If I was to give a grade for the Hawks in this game, I'd probably give it like a C, maybe C+. But I mean, you got the win in today's NBA. Nothing's given, so it's a good win. Every win's a good win, but they definitely could have played a lot better.
Yeah, everything was it was like everybody was kind of sort of stuck in awe because Collins was doing what he was doing. I guess it was like a stuck effect. Like, oh, what? Really? He's here?
Man,
I mean,
he really took it. He really took it to all those trade rumors. I mean, he beat the trade allegations for the 3rd year in a row. And with this poster in this first quarter, you saw what he established. With what he was establishing himself as throughout this game.
Trae off the screen. Feeds it back to Collins. John
slamming right there over Jock Landale and pretty much the entire Suns team in the paint there. It really cemented his usage and made other guys get some shots too and easy looks. So and that's what you want. It's when you can involve John Collins in the first quarter and then continue to do it throughout the entire game. That's what the Hawks offense needs, and that's what JC needs in terms of just getting his numbers and being effective on the floor on the offensive end. Because we know he's going to bring the effort on the defensive end every night. It's just can he take advantage of those mismatches? Can he find his way to get those buckets where he can be a focal point in the Hawks offense throughout the entire game instead of maybe just a couple minute stretches throughout the entire game.
I mean, that play right there. John Collins can do that on anybody multiple times in a game. You know, he has that capability. He has it. You know, that's why, I'm like, why are you just standing around bruh, get to the basket. Knock somebody over. Get something. Anything. But this,
I think that's more of a. I think that's more of a design of the offense, not necessarily that he's just kind of refraining from doing so. I do see them. They have a an important way of trying to get him involved. Especially when they try to get him in the post. I know he does struggle sometimes with getting correct post position, but when he does, he's very effective. And since the trade rumors, I know it affected him. He may not say it. But clearly it was in his head because, like, this is 4 years in a row. Like, I would be kind of weary, too. It's like, it's almost close. I keep saying that, this deal, that deal, that deal. It's kind of hard to focus on, everything on the court. Then you saw during the Suns game, he looked free. He was, he was still missing some of his shots, but you could tell that he just flowed out there. Like, he could just, focus on the game. So that's why I thought it's important for him to be able to focus on, okay, now I can focus on playing my position and doing what my role is.
I completely agree.
Well, me being the old man that I am, I'm stubborn with it. You wouldn't have to worry about trade rumors if you bring your ass and put that same effort in night after night, and not just in spurts. If you playing like that every night, you wouldn't have to worry about trade rumors.
I also think it's just the fit. Like JC, we know he's hit mid-30s throughout his career on 3-point percentage, and this year for some reason, I don't know if it's like the boutonniere deformity in his finger. I don't know what it is, but it's no secret that he struggled with his 3-point shot this year, and it's really kind of handcuffed our offense at times because when he's sitting at the 3-point line and Clint Capella's the roll man, it's tough for him to knock down that 3 ball when he's been struggling as it is. So hopefully with this confidence, renewed, refreshed, trade deadline over, he gets more aggressive and he maybe starts knocking down more threes too, because that confidence of him, he knows he's going to be here at least for another half a season. Hopefully he knows that he has the confidence to knock down those threes. It was, and back to the comment about the start of the Pelicans game. When I said there was an inconsistent start, here we had a great start. I mean, granted, this Suns team was very depleted. Kevin Durant got traded, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson to Brooklyn, Devin Booker sitting out. Their depth was really depleted, and Atlanta took advantage of that. We got out of the first quarter, wasted no time. We ended the first quarter 36-22, 14-point lead, had 8 points off the Suns' turnovers. And Clint Capella, let me just say something real quick. Clint Capella dominated DeAndre Ayton. You can say, okay, look at the box score quickly. DeAndre Ayton, 23 points. Oh, wow, he had a great game against Capella. DeAndre Ayton is 7'1" with all that skill in the post. And I know OG Sam's going to talk about this too. He grabbed 2 rebounds throughout the entire game. He had 0 rebounds until the midway through the third quarter. And that's an effort thing, but it also is a testament to Clint Capella, Onyeka Okongwu. Even Trae Young had 7 rebounds this game. So DeAndre Ayton, if you're on the Suns, that's got to worry you, because he had 2 back-to-back 30-point, 15 rebound games before this game, and he was like, I don't think I've had 2 great games in a row. I can kind of relax a little bit, because there's no way he should be getting only 2 rebounds in a game, regardless if it's a win or loss.
Right. That, now I give Clint some credit on that, but I give a large portion of blame with just no effort, no big man effort from this guy. DeAndre Ayton has been pretty much acting like a spoiled little brat, pouting for the last 2 years. And if I'm the Suns, you know, that right there, that's a fireable offense when you let a 6'9" cat outdo you.
Yeah, and especially when you have the skill that Ayton has too. And we
Right.
got to give love to 0 too, like Southside is saying. Double O really, really was active. He had 11 points, 11 rebound, double off the bench as well, and he had minutes to get to Ayton too. So both
Right.
Capella and Okongwu really rendered Ayton useless on the defensive rebounding and while he can score, he didn't do the little things. And rebounding is a huge part. I mean, this game, the Hawks, like I said at the beginning of the recapping this game, we really did not play that well. The Hawks had 18 turnovers in this game. I'll say it again, 18 turnovers. But the rebounding battle was completely lopsided. 59 boards for the Hawks to 35 for the Suns. And that's really where it happened. We had 20 offensive rebounds in this game. 20. That shows the effort was there, even though they weren't playing to the best of their ability on the offensive end. With Trey almost had 10 turnovers in this game, even though he scored well, assisted well, rebounded well. We couldn't take care of the basketball, and the rebounding battle really saved us there.
It was just pure effort. That's something I really appreciate from the Hawks team when they can do it, and I wish it was consistent, but it was pure effort. And, with DeAndre Ayton being, 7'1",
yep,
and not being able to get a rebound over 6'10" in shoes, Clint Capella, and it seems like DeAndre Hunter was out rebounding you, and DeAndre Hunter don't rebound to save his life. So you just really, he looked terrible. Like you should have dominated that game. So I do commend the Hawks for having an in total team effort. That's something I appreciate. Now the turnovers, that's something like it seemed like they were very careless at times. Especially with it was Trey Young getting doubled at times. It was DeJounte Murray getting doubled at times as well too. So just need to keep crisp offense, keep it up, keep moving the ball. Because it seemed like they were trying to slowly move the ball up at certain times, and that's when the double came. So if they can be able to move the ball and keep the offense flowing, that is something I think that's going to improve next game when they're going against the Spurs tomorrow. And I'm hoping to see the Hawks' new additions come in and possibly join the rotation.
Yeah, the deals were made official during the game last night with Houston, and then the deal for Saddiq Bey in the 4-team trade became official around 10 o'clock last night. So hopefully we can get them practicing today, get them ready to enter the rotation tomorrow. And as we go over a little bit more for the Suns game, before talking about that Spurs game tomorrow, the Suns struggled with the 3-point shot. They have the league leader in 3-point percentage, Damian Lee, but they started 2 of 14 from beyond the arc, and that's a testament to the Hawks perimeter defense to win this game. DeAndre Hunter, well, definitely not his greatest game of the season. I mean, one of his these 2 game stretches right here, the Pelicans and the Suns game, really not great games for Dre after really having such great games before he went down with those acute asthma attacks. He was playing so well and really was generating a lot of hype. But unfortunately, these past 2 games, he's really been struggling, and hopefully he can get his shot back soon, because in the Pelicans, that was rough. He shot 0 of 9 from the floor against the Pelicans and still let Brandon Ingram drop 30 on him. So that was kind of a rough game there for DeAndre Hunter. So hopefully he can get this shot back against the Spurs tomorrow.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, go ahead.
It's defense. You know what I'm saying? Defense, and then 2, because a lot of people have this, I call it a misconception that we're a better team running. I think the opposite. I think we're better in the half court.
Right.
The half court setup, grinding, you know what I'm saying, and slowing it down, and just working through our pick and roll. You know what I'm saying? Because it rolls right into our ability to get set defensively, get our hands on balls in the passing lane. We got a bunch of guys with wingspans, forever.
I see your point, but I kind of would push back on that because if we have a fast-paced offense, we really lack from spacing this year and three-point shooting volume. So if we have that half-court offense, our spacing is kind of denied from slowing down. If we speed the pace up, we're going to get easier looks from three. We're going to get easier looks at the rim, and I think as a whole, more points per possessions, more possessions per game. I really am a fan of us playing really fast. But hopefully, if we do play slow in the half court, like we did against the Pelicans, we kind of knock down the shots more consistently. And unfortunately, the turnovers didn't allow us to do that at all. Didn't even give us the chance in the whole game against the Suns, and then in the second half against the Pelicans. That's 2 games in a row now for the Hawks, uncharacteristically having a lot of turnovers. And hopefully we can get that fixed for the Spurs tomorrow.
The misconception around the team's pace, I think, comes from a lot of people not understanding that this is a different team from last season. Like, we don't have the spacing from Kevin Huerter or Danilo Gallinari. And I do remember Charles Barkley was like, they need to be running gun. And to which my response was, you're asking a team that couldn't shoot well at all to start the season to just go out there and play faster. If you're not playing more efficient, I didn't see the point of playing faster. I understand that you do have to play a little bit fast so you can take advantage of the skill set of Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. But I feel like if they're making shots and they're showing that their offense is crisp, and yes, let's play faster. But I'm thinking if you can't get an open shot, yes, play through the bigs, play the pick and roll, yes, do that. So I think it depends on the game plan. So I did like the game plan yesterday. I just think they kind of, sometimes they look like, okay, yeah, we can beat this team. They ain't got nobody, because they that's why they were called the Zombie Suns yesterday, because they didn't really have that many players. But I don't think we need to be, playing down the competition, especially when we have a full rotation. So I think next game they need to realize that, hey, we're still, 8th in the conference right now. We need to keep winning, keep this win streak up so we can actually move up. If they want to be top 6 like Nate said they want to be, they have to work hard.
Yep. That's 48 minutes of defense.
Yeah, we're the 8th seed right now, and we are 1.5 games. 2.5 games from the 6th seed. So it's definitely not out of reach, but we definitely do have to rattle off some wins here. The Heat are the current 6th seed right now, and the Knicks are the 7th seed, and they got better at the deadline too.
What are we, second or third in the division?
In the division, I'm not sure in the division, but no. So the Heat are in our division, so we're second in the division.
Okay. So that means if we can catch the Heat, we can get up to 6.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely possible. The Heat really were inactive at the deadline. As much as praise as Pat Riley gets with the Heat, he really sold. I think at this deadline couldn't get a deal done, and I think the Heat and the Bulls, that I've seen other people saying this too, really the 2 major losers at the deadline, and I would agree with that statement. But back to the Hawks, if we're looking at the game tomorrow against the Spurs, this is a game that we should dominate. The Spurs are playing tonight. They're going to be without Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, Jeremy Sohan, and they just traded Jakob Poeltl. And they're playing tonight. They have to travel to Atlanta tomorrow to play us at home, and we have a rest advantage. So this game, if we lose this game, it's pretty much inexcusable. Probably would be the worst loss of the season, just because the roster difference, the talents difference, as well as home and back-to-back for the Spurs. So I don't know about you guys, but I think tomorrow would be the worst loss of the season if we did suffer a defeat.
Yeah. Well, I know DeJounte should be jacked for this game.
Yes, he will be. This is the first time he's going against his former squad.
Right. So, which means the rest of us should be, jacked as well to, push this and beat these guys down.
Yeah, I think against the Spurs are a young team, right? They're gonna want to play fast. I know that. So
Mhm.
if we do play fast, we have to match that, or we can slow it down because. And I actually would agree with you at this, Sam. I would slow it down tomorrow night because there's two philosophies to this. I mean, it is a back-to-back for the Spurs, so you could speed them up and try to tire their legs, but at the same time, they're a group of young guys. They're going to want to play fast. They're still going to have the energy, and they don't have the half-court talent offensively that we have. So if we do slow the game down and we're efficient with our shot making, I think we could pretty much take this game pretty handily if we slow it down and execute in the half court.
This is true.
Oh yeah, Southside.
I feel like they're going to have to bring some guys back that aren't playing. Because if they come out against the Hawks with their it's over.
What did you say at the end there? I think you broke up. You there, Cookie? No? Okay.
No.
The technical difficulties here. We'll be right back. But the Spurs, you know what they're gonna do. Greg Popovich's system. They're gonna run a traditional offense, very guard heavy, and they don't really have a big man to protect the paint like they did with Jakob Poeltl going to the Raptors. So honestly, this game should be a game where the Hawks dominate. The most important thing I want to see, low turnovers. The turnovers against the Pelicans and against the Suns were way too high. We got bailed out in the Suns game by some great rebounding from the bigs and just raw effort. But the Spurs, young guys, are going to give 100% effort tomorrow because they have nothing to lose. So
there should be a conga line to the basket for us with their being relatively smaller than us, underneath.
Yeah, Zach Collins is going to start at center for them most likely. Clint Capella should be eating on the glass there. Hopefully that'll be the case. What do you guys think is the number one key as far as winning tomorrow night?
And John Collins don't end up on the milk carton tomorrow night.
I would just personally say keep pushing. Don't play down to the competition. I know I can see that their record is 14-41. Most likely, probably going to be 14-42, even though they have a similar record to Detroit. But still, you have to keep pushing. Don't look at their record. Say, hey, well, we want to win this game and dominate the game because we know that we're a better team. Clearly, a better team. If you come out with Tryon Collins and you lose to Blake Wesley, I don't even know who that dude is. It's going to be a problem.
Yeah. These guys, the Spurs are going to play a decent amount of guys that really don't get minutes a lot because they're heavily injured and they traded Jakob Poeltl, they traded Josh Richardson away to the Pelicans. So there's going to be a lot of guys that don't normally get heavy minutes playing for the Spurs tomorrow. So the Hawks have to take advantage of that and execute so that they don't. The Spurs can't get any confidence. I want this game to be over early in the fourth quarter so we can rest the starters and get them ready for a tougher game after the Spurs.
If anybody comes back, I want to see. I don't know how to say his name, but Jeremy Sochan or Sochan.
Yeah,
I want to see him because I know I want to see Baby Dennis Rodman. I do want to see him play.
Yeah, he's been playing really well actually of late. He's out tonight, like we did mention, but he's a really good defender, and that's what you said, Baby Dennis Rodman. So he's going to give 100% effort. You know that if he plays. So definitely going to need to match the effort, and if we do match their effort and energy, we should win this game, no doubt. But on to yesterday, some just absolutely crazy stuff happened. And actually, before yesterday, I have a funny story to tell you about the Kevin Durant trade. I was literally about to hit my head on the pillow, going to sleep. I clicked the alarm on my phone, and was about to put my phone down. But when I saw another notification, I'd be like, "Oh, okay, I'll check it. What is this?" And it was the Kevin Durant trade. I ended up staying up an hour later, just scrolling through Twitter, seeing what everybody's saying. about the trade. So that was pretty funny. But what were your guys' reaction to that Kevin Durant trade as he's on
I
his way to
thought
Phoenix?
I thought it was a fake post myself when it came across my phone and tablet. I really did. I thought it was fake because I was like, nah, this ain't happened that quick.
Especially at
You
1
know,
a.m. Like,
right. But then when my Twitter for notifications went to going off, and then all the major outlets, sports news outlets was clicking, I'm like, okay, this shit really happens.
yeah,
I'm like, well, all right, it's all right then, and um, when just looking back overall, Brooklyn kind of came out to the good on both them trades, KD and Kyrie. With with the bodies and the picks,
yeah, they got
I
a
have
lot
to
back.
agree. I certainly think Brooklyn actually came out and won. I'm gonna say it won the trade because being Kevin Durant, who said prior to the season he didn't want to be there, and you're getting Michael Bridges, who was a very very solid player. You're getting Cam Johnson. You're getting 4 first round picks, and I believe those are unprotected. So you're gonna make out like a bandit if you feel like, hey, I have a solid core here. I need to trade for a star. If they feel like doing that, they can. Their starting
Yeah,
lineup is solid. You got Spencer Dinwiddie, you got Cam Thomas, who's coming into his own. You want to put Michael Bridges in there, and you want to put Cam Johnson in there, and then you have Nick Claxton. Like they're still and going to be in the top of this conference at the end of the day.
yeah, I think
for,
oh, sorry, go
for
ahead.
me, it was them getting Dinwiddie back.
He
I
put
think
up 22-7 with them 2 years ago.
yes, them getting Dinwiddie back. Then with Claxton and and the camp, I'm like, man, shoot, that player is still playoff ready with all this.
Yeah, they're not championship contention anymore, and obviously their offense and they have incredible individual defenders. You got Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, Ben Simmons, Mikal Bridges, Nick Claxton. I mean, these guys are great defenders. And even though Ben Simmons, you can say, oh, he's declined and his confidence isn't there. On the offensive end, you see it, but defensively, he's still elite. And they just beat the Bulls last night, fully healthy Bulls. So
yeah,
obviously without Lonzo, but they've been without Lonzo throughout the entire year. So definitely still a talented team. But come playoff time, when defense gets more intense, the offense is harder to execute. It's going to be tough for them without a bona fide star. And not
you don't think Dinwiddie's a star? Because I do.
I love Dinwiddie. I love him as a player. I actually am way higher on him than a lot of people, but I wouldn't consider him a star.
That boy give you 25 a night. That's star material to me.
I honestly think Spencer Dinwiddie is the only guy in the league that looked like he played in the 70s.
Right.
Oh, what'd you say?
I said I think he's the only guy in the league that looks like he played in the 70s with his hair and his beard.
Boy, look like Dan Roundfield.
And Southside says I didn't see it until the following morning on my phone, and there was a ton of people's reaction. There were a ton of tweets saying when Kevin Durant got traded, it was like, oh, people are gonna wake up tomorrow to some craziness, and yeah, that's what a lot of people did. But
yeah.
Were there any other deals that really surprised you guys or really really stood out to you guys as this move can put them over the top as far as other moves other than the Hawks before we get into our main moves?
Mo Bamba to LA.
Mo Bamba to LA. I thought that people were kind of overrating the Los Angeles Lakers moves. I think that they are still going to be a team that largely struggles. Understandably, we know LeBron is a great player. We know AD is got to be the most inconsistent star I've ever seen. So, I really think if they have those pieces come around together with Rui Hachimura, they have Malik Beasley now. I think they have with a Jared Vanderbilt. I think those are nice players as far as rotational. But if your stars aren't able to be stars and kind of lead that team outside of LeBron, because LeBron can do what he can do, but he's not. He's only one man. So I think they're still going to struggle. Like right now, they just lost 2 back-to-back games, even though LeBron got the scoring record and he was honored yesterday. I think it was yesterday versus the Bucks. Those losses are going to start counting up.
Yeah, and we got to remember that they got D'Angelo Russell too now. So they have D'Angelo Russell is a star player. They've got three stars now, and I wonder if D'Angelo Russell, obviously he had that controversy when he was drafted by the Lakers with the locker room, but he's much more mature now, and I think he can really help their spacing as much. Malik Beasley can too. We know he's gonna shoot a lot of threes, and the Lakers badly need 3-point shooting, so he's gonna help them a lot.
I'm about to say something that I think it's time to pull the plug. I think they should have pulled the plug on AD. He's in the training room and on the bench more than he is on the floor, and that's been consistently for the last 3 years.
Man, say that about AD, but also Kawhi has been more injured than Anthony Davis over the last 3 years, which is kind of crazy to think about.
That's true. But
you just never hear anything about Kawhi. That's all I'm saying. AD is a fantastic player, but yeah, he's injured.
Yeah, he is. But as great of a player as he is, you are always gonna miss him for. It's guaranteed every season you're gonna get 2 months of inaction out of him.
Yeah. And I think one of the most telling things about that is when he did, come back, that Thomas Bryant literally requested a trade because of his diminished role. And I thought that Thomas Bryant is actually a very solid piece off the bench. I know he's better than Mo Bamba, obviously. He's better than Mo Bamba. That's what I thought. They got a bit of a downgrade at center, when they brought in Mo Bamba for Thomas Bryant.
Agreed. Yeah.
I thought that was Patrick Beverly that they traded for him.
Yeah, they did. Mo Bamba's to the Lakers for Patrick.
No, they did. Beverly. I just meant the corresponding move as far as center was for
Patrick Beverly
to replace Thomas Bryant with Mo Bamba.
And then Thomas Bryant is now with Denver. And going from Denver was Bones Highland. And Southside says he was surprised to the trade by the Clippers. And the Clippers do need a point guard. But they've been starting Terrence Mann at point guard, and he's actually done an okay job. He's a shooting guard by trade. But we know that, Bones Highland, he's still a talented player. He can give you a microwave type of energy off the bench scoring-wise. So the Clippers definitely got better with that trade. So I like that move from the Clippers. It was just interesting to see that just 2 second-round picks for Bones Highland was very, very little value. I thought he would go for a little bit more, even with the issues in the locker room and with the coaching staff that Bones Highland had.
Bruh, they sent Bryant to the Nuggets.
Yeah, he's the backup center now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm okay. I already thought that the Nuggets were Western Conference bound.
I think
that move right there may have just sent theirs to the finals.
Yeah,
dead for real.
Denver's set to come out of the West this year. I completely agree. I've said that for a couple months now. I really do. Their offense is so good, and they've got enough defense this year. They're the number 1 offensive team in the league, and I think they have enough defense this year to finally, with Aaron Gordon playing some of the best basketball of his career, I think
you just got a guy that could give you 25 to 30 points without you designing plays for him.
Yep.
Yeah, but you're almost on effort alone, really.
Yeah, and Gordon gives you
that part right there.
And now, with that out of the way, let's get to the central part. Our Hawks got rid of 7 second-round picks at this deadline in 2 separate deals. In a 14 trade, we acquired Saddiq Bey, sending Detroit 5 second-round picks. Now we'll discuss that deal first, and then go over the deal that sent Justin Holiday and Frank Kaminsky out to Houston and coming back to Atlanta. Our old pal Bruno Fernando, and then Garrison Matthews. If you don't know who he is, he's a very much volume shooter like Malik Beasley, who's going to provide you spacing and he's a sniper. He's if you really want to compare him to a familiar guy to Hawks fans, he's like a discount Kyle Korver, and he shoots that many threes. So the Hawks badly need that type of spacing. So I'm glad that I like that move. It was more cost cutting than anything. He won't see many minutes every game, but I do think it was well worth the move. But for the Saddiq Bey move, what are you guys' initial thoughts on that?
Good.
Do you like Saddiq Bey as a player?
I initially, was excited about it because I've been following Bey since he got drafted. Actually, when I was looking at mock drafts during his draft, he was one of the players I did want the Atlanta Hawks to select. But he's a guy that can score in bunches, especially. He's actually one of two guys on the Hawks team right now that has had a 50-point game. So I'm not saying that he's going to come out and do that, all the time. No, obviously he's not. But if you look at the Hawks bench prior to the trade deadline, it was so bad that if Bogey doesn't score 15, no one else is going to score like that amount. I mean, because we still have AJ, he's developing. We still have JJ, he has his sporadic minutes. But outside of those players, we don't have many scorers off the bench. So with Saddiq Bey, he's someone who brings toughness, physicality, and he can shoot the three ball. I know he's been struggling from the mid-range part of his game, but I do believe that is because that he was seen as, I think, a primary scorer off the bench for the Detroit. So I think when he comes here, he's not going to be seen as a primary scorer. He's going to be seen as just another rotational piece. So he can be out there with a Bogey or a Trae Young. They're going to. You don't have to actually handle the ball as much. He's going to be able to just run off plays and get some threes up and be able to stretch the floor for the team. So I was really impressed. So that you have to remember that that's 15 points they're bringing in. To a team that couldn't get barely 15 out of anybody else. So that's a solid trade for us. And he has upsides. He's only 23 years old. He's in the third year of his rookie deal.
Yeah, as first 5 second-round picks for me, I think is too much for Saddiq Bey. And I'll be honest right here. Just because he comes to the Hawks, I'm not going to magically change my opinion on him. I've been low on Saddiq Bey throughout his career. He's not a scorer. I mean, I saw a lot of Hawks fans on Twitter saying, "Oh, we got a score off the bench." He's a catch and shoot guy. And while he has had a 50-point game, like you said, Cookie, and he's a great catch and shoot three guy. I think a lot of Hawks fans have the notion that he can play the two, and he's not a two guard. He's a 3 and a 4, so he won't take AJ Griffin's minutes. I saw a lot of conversation about that earlier today. So I don't think Hawks fans have to worry about that. But the thing with Saddiq Bey is, and he's been inefficient throughout his entire career, and that's because I think, Cookie, like what you said, he was seen as a primary scorer, and he's not that. He's just a catch and shoot guy that he'll occasionally pop off for high scoring games, just like that 50-point game, like you said. He hit 10 threes in that 50-point game, so it was on the basis of some really hot shooting, 10 of 14 from that 3-point line in that 50-point game a couple years ago. So he can get hot. But the thing about Saddiq Bey for me is he's been a shooter that can't shoot and is a negative defender. So hopefully he proves me wrong, and I really want him to succeed here. But I just think 5 second-round picks for Saddiq Bey is a lot, and I probably would have gave him 3. But I'm really glad that we got more depth in shooting just as he is as a player. So I hope he succeeds more than he did in Detroit here, because I think he was misused in Detroit, and hopefully he finds a groove here off the bench.
Yeah, I think he's gonna fall right into a good slot here with us. Go ahead, big boy.
He's a rotational piece at best. I mean, a lot of Hawks fans just think he can just come in here and uproot. Yeah. By the way, what's up, everybody?
Hey.
A lot of folks, he's a rotational piece at best. I mean, okay, for whatever it's worth, okay, golf clap that you brought him in, but the way I was hearing some Hawks fans talk, like he about to threaten DeAndre Hunter for the three spot, and he gonna cut either JJ or AJ's minutes. No.
Neither
He's
one.
just a
He's not that
rotational
good.
piece.
He's not that good.
I'm not gonna. He's good, but he, like I said, he's gonna fall into a slot. You know what I'm saying, on that bench that's gonna be good. You know, like you said, Mike. You know, the three of the four. That's where he's gonna be. You know, and then he's gonna spread the floor. You know, and be a body. You know what I'm saying, on the defensive end. You know, 10, 15. You know what I'm saying, minutes. You know, spread out. You know what I'm saying. You got to take these fans, like these Hawks fans, like you take these Falcon fans with a grain of salt.
Yeah, completely agree. And you're not trading 5 second-round picks for a guy that's not going to play enough minutes to be impactful. So I think he'll play close to 20 minutes, a little bit less probably, but I think he'll get up to that 15 to 17, 18 range.
Yeah,
and he definitely brings more shooting to Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson's a otherworldly better defender compared to Saddiq Bey. Unfortunately, he's not a great defender. So when Trey's on the floor, you kind of don't want to have that combination. But hopefully Saddiq Bey can really find a home here in terms of efficient shooting and just on a 3-point assassin off the bench, because we need more 3-point shooting volume point blank. It's been on our offense since the beginning of the season. And for the record, if taking value away, taking those 5 second-round picks away and just bringing in Saddiq Bey, we cut costs on Justin Holiday and Frank Kaminsky and made our roster better with depth. So that's really hard to do. Commend Landry Fields for that, because we know we don't want to go into the luxury tax. That's what Tony Ressler and Nick Ressler seem to have in mind. We're $450,000, I believe, under the luxury tax right now, and we're set to go under the luxury tax in the offseason if Bogey doesn't stay. So depending on what he does, we'll have to see what the owners want to do. But commend the Hawks front office for getting a better roster and still saving money.
Onto the second round picks thing. I was laughing at other teams when they did it. I was like, man, that's a lot of picks. Like when they traded, I think it was 5 for Jay Crowder. I started laughing. I was like, that's a lot of second round. And then we end up doing the same thing for Saddiq Bey. So I'm starting to think that the premium right now for solid players, especially rotational players, are 5 second round picks, because it's almost everybody just did not care about the second round. And I know how unlikely that second round picks actually pan out. So I wasn't surprised that we did that. And then, with the Hawks, either we pick some international guy or we just sell the pick. So I don't care about those second round picks, especially if Saddiq Bey can pan out. It feels like those picks are probably not going to be, because our best second round pick in years is Mike Muscala.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't really care about the amount of picks, especially if they're in the second round that went out for somebody that can obviously help the rotation.
That's a good point. And Saddiq Bey, I honestly hope he proves me wrong. Like I said, I haven't been high on him throughout his career, but I really want Saddiq Bey to succeed here and bring his 3-point shooting to this team. You don't want him dribbling the ball. He shot 45% from 2 throughout his career, and for a 6'8" guy around the rim, finishing at the rim, you don't want that number to be that low. But he'll mainly be a catch and shoot guy with Jalen Johnson, and we still have Trae Young and DeJounte Murray stagger really being the guys off the bench that'll get some paint penetration to kick out for threes. So hopefully he can settle into that role and really succeed here in Atlanta. Southside here, or go ahead.
Well, from what I've seen in from watching the rotation, I think it'll be a point where when Trae comes out, DeJounte moves over to the point. 102, you'll probably see Bey at the 3 or the 4 in that type of, setup.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't stunt Jalen Johnson's growth, though. That's the one thing. I still want him to develop. So it'll be interesting to see the minute split with Jalen Johnson and Saddiq Bey for sure. But we know there will be injuries, and Saddiq might get some more playing time in those injuries.
Going to be matchup based. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's going to be matchup based. So I don't think he's just going to automatically just start playing in front of Jalen Johnson. But I do feel like if the Nate feels like we need more shooting, and Bay can play the 3 or the 4, he's going to be out there in the lineup that includes Bogey and AJ, and then rather it be Trey or DeJounte at the point, because at that point you're going to be able to space the floor as best as you can with those 3 players.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. This just in from Shams Charania. A failed physical exam of Gary Payton II has placed the Golden State, Portland, Detroit, Atlanta 4-team trade in serious jeopardy. Payton's core muscle injury could sideline him for up to 3 months following a Warriors exam. So, I think with this news, I think we can definitely rule out Saddiq Bey appearing for the Hawks in tomorrow night's game. But this is not good.
Wow.
This is some breaking news here on Georgia Sports Nation from Shams right here. But
they're probably just going to have to. I would think that they're just going to have to, if they can, amend the trade and just say, just remove the Warriors side out of it. But I don't know, because
removing the Warriors side is really tough because they got the Pistons got Wiseman from that. So it's not like we weren't connected with the Pistons and the Warriors. All of these teams are connected because the Pistons got more picks from other teams. So this is a really big deal. I don't think we can just do Pistons and Hawks for Saddiq Bey and 5 picks because of that Wiseman deal.
I wonder if they can replace the player. I don't know if they would feel, because they do have that they did want to move. So I wonder if because Gary Payton's physical, if you could just say, hey, we still want to try to complete this trade, if they can just throw in a Moses Moody or somebody they was already trying to move.
Right.
It's going to be tough because Gary Payton, obviously, the Warriors thought highly enough of him to bring him back. And he didn't like Portland. He revealed in an interview today. So this is going to be interesting. Definitely follow this development over the next few days. But this deal means Saddiq Bey probably won't be playing for a decent amount of time. We don't even know if this trade will go through yet. It could be canceled. I mean, you saw what a failed physical exam could do with Carlos Correa. So for this offseason in MLB. So this is definitely a worry.
I think it probably depends on. Would it depend on? I'm not sure how it works in the NBA, but would it depend on if they can accept the trade anyway? Because I think when it came to Carlos Correa, a lot of people just didn't want him for that contract, and then you were including the injury. Because I know I forgot what team that Carlos. I think he went back to the Twins. But
yes, he did.
Just knowing what you know about the physical injury, that they could still accept that world.
Shams Charania said it's in serious jeopardy of canceling the deal. So that definitely is not good news. But with that being said, we do still have to talk about the other deal the Hawks made with the Rockets. 2 second-round picks for Garrison Matthews and Bruno Fernando. Bruno Fernando obviously coming back to the Hawks. We drafted him in the 2nd round a couple years ago, and if you saw some Hawks clips from Twitter today, the guys were so excited to have Bruno Fernando back in the locker room. It was great. It was just honestly great vibes in the locker room. And when he saw Clint Capella working out, I mean, he talked to Bogey. The guys seemed really happy that Bruno was back. So that's good for our locker room. I don't think he'll see the floor unless there are 2 injuries, because I honestly think Nate McMillan would rather play John Collins at the 5 than have Bruno Fernando. But in that center. But if Onyeka Okongwu and Clint Capella were out, I think it would have to take 2 injuries for us to see Bruno in the rotation. What about your guys' thoughts on Bruno?
Well, another body.
He's somebody that brings exactly what he brings exactly what Nate was mentioning when we had signed that Derek Favors to a 10-day. Remember, he said he wanted somebody to bring some physicality down low. because when we had Clint out, it was almost like everybody was allergic to rebounding. And we know that something Bruno Fernando can do is bring that energy and that size down. Well, even though he's not as tall, he's around 6'9", 6'10" as well. But he still brings that energy and that rebounding ability. And I do think as far as the locker room vibes, he was a good guy here. I think just after, the unfortunate passing, I think of his mother, he just was kind of out of it. So he did need to change the scenery. And I think it did him well in Houston because he started to improve his game.
Yeah, he is a better player for sure. And Shams just put this out as well. And then Big Sam, I'll let you speak on that trade. The Warriors have until Saturday to go through with the trade or have the entire 4-team deal rescinded.
Oh wow!
So this is very serious stuff. We obviously have no input on the Warriors things right now. It's all going to depend on Bob Myers and over there in Golden State. So hopefully they say yes, they'll take it. But it's definitely going to be tough.
Yeah,
I honestly think they will. Yeah, I honestly think they will, just to get rid of Wiseman. Well, Wiseman was, Wiseman is I think he's a decent player. He has an opportunity to develop, but I just don't think they took him. I think they took him because he was top 5. Like they just had to because he was, he was one of the top picks. It would be remiss not to take him there.
I don't know what happened right there with Wiseman. I mean, for him to end up on the outs, with them. I mean. The situation looked pretty bad. They sent him to the G League, and didn't say for what or why, and then a report surfaced that he got into it with one of the coaches, and I'm like, okay, he's not gonna be there long. But this Matthews deal, another Nate guy. Good role player guy, with the ability to shoot and play some defense. I think it's going to be beneficial too.
I mean, Garrison Matthews he's not a horrible defender, but he's definitely still a below average defender in terms of what you want for an NBA rotational caliber player. I don't think he'll see the floor every night, but I think he'll see some situational minutes. So if you need it shooting that badly, you'll see him. He's gonna take threes on the run. He's gonna chuck up some threes that probably will make some fans mad, but they're gonna go in most of the time, and it's gonna be fun to watch if he's on the floor. I always hated playing against him because he always killed the Hawks, and like Southside says here, I mean, when we lost to that Rockets game a couple months ago, we all remember when DeJounte popped Jabari Smith on the head and all that started, and they came back. Garrison Matthews torched us in that game. So hopefully him coming here will give us some much needed volume 3-point shooting as well as Saddiq Bey. So I really like the additions. The Hawks hopefully can make it the deadline with Bey. We won't know obviously, but regardless, if Garrison Matthews gets some playing time if this deal doesn't go through with Saddiq Bey, we still get some more volume 3-point shooting. So that's a good deal for the Hawks. I'm glad we added to the depth because it was badly needed.
Well, we recognized the mission and kind of filled it. So
yeah, I'm happy with what Landry did, and hopefully, and this is not his fault, obviously, with the Saddiq Bey 4-team trade issue. Hopefully, we do get that deal to go through. But I wanted to discuss this briefly before we end here. Trey was not named in the All-Star replacement. It's going to be Pascal Siakam, De'Aaron Fox, and Anthony Edwards. One thing I saw interesting from some Twitter reactions today was from our old friend Chris Kirshner. He used to cover the Hawks for The Athletic. Some people questioned his journalism practices. They didn't really appreciate his questions for Trae Young, but he did say this in terms of when the All-Star game was in Atlanta during that COVID year. I don't know if it's true now, but I know for the Atlanta All-Star game, he didn't want to be named a replacement. It was either make it when the full teams were announced, or I won't be there if a replacement is needed. I just want to get your guys' opinions. What do you think of that decision from Trae? Because I honestly commend him for it. I mean, I respect the decision, but at the end of the day, Like, you're not going to have on your stat sheet when you retire, oh, you were a replacement all-star in this year. It's going to be just all-star. So at the end of the day, I do appreciate like the commitment for Trey. He's going to work on his game over the break, but he does need some much needed time off. But at the same time, I kind of wish he had the honor as well. And we don't know if this is the reason for this year's selection, but it very well could be.
You know, when this whole All-Star thing, you know, went to flying out all out and everybody was all up in arms, I asked the question: you want him to be in the All-Star game, or you want him to be here more concerned about getting his team in order and on track? You got to understand the mission.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And his dedication too. Like he knows it. I respect the decision if that's him saying to the league office, "Hey, don't put me in the All-Star game. I didn't deserve it. I need to work, get my shooting back together. And if I'm not a replacement, I don't want to be put in the game." I commend the decision, but it's kind of like, all right, if you're named an All-Star, a replacement doesn't matter. You're still an All-Star at the end of the day. What do you think about it, Cookie?
I think there are some underknown elements. I think people might have forgot that Trae Young had just became a father. So if he's just not outright named, hey, you certainly earned this, this honor right here, he doesn't need to go. He wants to spend time with his kids. He wants to rest his body.
Yep. And it's weird, like averaging 27 and 10. Like the Raptors have a worse record. Pascal Siakam's not averaging the numbers Trae is averaging, but yet he got in the All-Star game. So I can definitely see how. I think this might have some merit to it from Chris Kirschner. And while anybody can say he's controversial, I appreciate him asking questions he did, because he got to the bottom. He may have gotten to the bottom of this when he was back with us in Atlanta before going to covering the Yankees for The Athletic. But with that being said, any final thoughts on the Spurs game tomorrow, or just what you want to see from the Hawks down the stretch here as we have 27? I believe it's 27 games left in the season.
As long as John Collins don't end up on the milk carton, I'm just saying.
I'll just say take care of business like you can. That's all they need to do. We have too many games this season where we are the teams that we have no business losing to. So just go out there, play for Nate. I know y'all want to play for Nate. I'm not gonna get into that because we're at the end of the show. But play your hearts out and do what we know y'all can do.
Yeah, for me, it's gonna be winning games at home. Like we're a better road team than home team this year, and we've got 17 of our last 27 games in State Farm Arena. So if we can if we can make State Farm Arena a tough place to play, we've got a good shot of getting back to that top 6 seed. But with that being said, we'll end it like we always do. Tell them where they can find you, Cookie by Nature.
You can find me at Cookie by Nature on Twitter if you feel like contacting me. So go on Twitter and follow at Cookie by Nature.
Big Sam, what about you?
Samuel White on Facebook and Twitter. OG Big Sam on YouTube. That's pretty much about it.
And you can find me, as always, on Twitter at Pinwhistle300 and streaming Georgia Sports Nation on recapping Hawks hoops. But with that being said, don't forget to tune in tomorrow night. Not tomorrow night. Next week for Georgia Sports Nation, 6:00 p.m. Eastern. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.